Welcome to the Economy Magazine. I'm Binyamin. Tjong-Alvares with the economic reports. Coming up, Boko Haram continues to weigh on West African economies, and Florida may see a solar energy revolution. First, the headlines. As Prime Minister Binyamin Netanyahu's Likud party unexpectedly swept to a victory in Israel's election, voters now look to the likely new finance minister for a transformation. Before the election, Netanyahu offered the finance minister's job to Moshe Kahlon, a one-time Likud ally, critical of Netanyahu's economic record. Kahlon, whose left-of-center Kulanu party won 10 seats, pledged to increase competition in the housing and banking sectors. But as the current coalition is more focused on external threats, it remains to be seen how much of Kahlon's populist agenda will be implemented. More on the elections following the headlines. Chinese stocks rallied for a sixth straight day on Wednesday to the highest level since the global financial crisis in 2008 on hopes of further stimulus. The Shanghai Composite Index finished up 2.1%, taking gains this year to 10.6% and adding to its 53% surge last year. Stocks have been capricious, initially fueled by a November interest rate cut and then halted by a January correction over a clampdown. But buying has picked up in recent weeks, and in particular since Sunday, after Chinese Premier Li Keqiang hinted at more measures from Beijing to rejuvenate the sluggish economy. The U.S. Federal Reserve on Wednesday is expected to lay the groundwork for its first interest rate hike in nearly a decade. The Fed may opt for either a June or September rate hike, but for now, most Fed officials agreed to discard a pledge to remain patient. Central bank officials say they want more confidence that the U.S. recovery can hold up against collapsing oil prices and a soaring dollar before committing to a rate liftoff. But as the U.S. considers an initial rate hike as early as June, the uncertain path of the global economy also remains a dilemma. IMF chief Christine Lagarde said on India on Tuesday, emerging markets must prepare for the impact of a rise in U.S. interest rates.
As economic conditions improve in at least some advanced economies, portfolio rebalancing out of the emerging market economies can be expected, and some volatility cannot be ruled out. So, emerging markets need to prepare for that volatility risk and this uncertainty.
Brent crude fell to $53 a barrel on Wednesday as U.S. crude stocks were forecast to have surged for the 10th straight week to a new record high. Brent for May delivery fell 50 cents and U.S. crude for April delivery fell 92 cents to $42.54 a barrel. Crude inventories rose by 10.5 million barrels to 450 million in the week to March 13th, according to data from the American Petroleum Institute. Rising output from Libya and plans by Iran to boost oil production if Western sanctions are lifted further feed global oversupply concerns. The Boko Haram militant group has killed thousands, isolating the West African countries it terrorizes and weighing on their economies. Local governments may now consider military resistance to the group, but stability remains a far-off reality for most citizens in the affected region.
Boko Haram attacks have taken a toll on life, security, and economy in Nigeria, Chad, Niger, and Cameroon. In the north of Cameroon, truckers look for alternatives such as military escort and substitute routes as safety measures against the Islamist group. The slowdown in delivering food, timber, and other building materials is raising prices and creating economic challenges for local populations.
You have to search among the few truckers who still want to take to the road, and with the insecurity, there is a rise in prices from $30 to $48 per ton.
Price hikes are putting pressure on an already embattled economy. The pressure of thousands of refugees and a massive slowdown in tourism is having a growing impact. Boko Haram have killed thousands, and they are known in the area for killing drivers, stealing the loads, and burning the trucks, according to the Reuters report. The region is isolated and even more so now.
Yesterday we left Kuseri at 7 in the morning. We got here at 6, after being on the road the whole day. Before it would take us 3 hours to travel from Marwa to Kuseri, now it takes us 7 to 18 hours.
As countries such as Chad look to military solutions in the face of 6 years of Boko Haram terror, stability seems a far-off reality for a vast number living and working in the region.
Florida might be known as the Sunshine State, but its solar industry is lagging. It is one of 5 U.S. states where only utilities can sell power directly to consumers. Advocates from across the political spectrum are now pushing for a constitutional amendment they hope will unleash the state's solar market.
You guys Florida voters?
It's a busy Saturday for these advocates. They're gathering signatures for a ballot initiative they hope will boost Florida's stagnated solar market.
Okay, good luck to you. Thank you, ma'am.
The so-called Sunshine State ranks 13th nationwide for use of solar energy, trailing behind gloomier New Jersey and Massachusetts. Behind this effort is a coalition of unlikely allies.
We've got conservatives, we've got liberals, we've got environmentalists, we've got Tea Party individuals, we've got Christian Coalition with us, and we've got the Florida Retail Federation, a whole host of people.
Florida is one of 5 states that prohibits homes and businesses from selling solar-generated energy to neighbors or tenants. Only utilities can sell power directly to consumers. The coalition seeks to lift this restriction, a move solar companies say will give Floridians more financial incentives to go solar.
If they were to overproduce, if they were to produce more electricity than what they're actually using, the only place to sell that electricity would be back to the utility company, where if we had open market dictating the price, the homeowner could dictate, I want to sell it for this much or I want to sell it for this much.
It would also allow solar companies to install panels on a person's roof for no upfront cash and then sell the energy to the customer, an option widely used in other states but banned in Florida. Mark Hayes spent $40,000 in installations and will get a 30% federal tax credit. He hopes others have more opportunities to go solar.
We are in Florida, the Sunshine State. We should be doing all solar energy if we could.
While most utility companies are yet to comment, one has argued that solar users should pay their share to maintain the electric grid, since they still rely on it. But the fight to open the solar market is gaining traction, helped by the support from opposing sides of the political spectrum.
So while we may come from different perspectives, our common agreement is that, and our common goal is that we need to remove the barrier of the monopoly utility to our clean energy future.
With over 100,000 signatures in the first month of their drive, the coalition is optimistic about securing a place on the 2016 ballot. A sign that more Floridians want a brighter prospect for their solar industry.
Many believe the results of the Israeli election indicate no real change to the political makeup of the Israeli government. But the elections did allow for a shakeout and reshuffling of the Netanyahu administration, and we'll see the entry of new players in the Israeli economy. One of those people is Moshe Kahlon, the leader of the new Kulanu party. We're joined in the studio by I-24 News journalist Daniel Roth to take a little closer look at the significance of these new players. Daniel.
How's it going?
Good, good, good. So, what do we have here? I mean, essentially, it seems like the same administration, but it's not. Can you clarify?
On the surface, it is. It's maybe a little bit of the more extreme right moved into the Likud party, beefing that up a little, beefing up Netanyahu's mandate. The big shift, ostensibly, we don't know for sure yet, but it looks, all indications are such that Yair Lapid will be gone from the coalition.
Right.
And Moshe Kahlon, a former Likudnik who's formed his party, as you explained, will be stepping into the finance ministry.
And Moshe Kahlon, for our viewers, just so we understand, I mean, he essentially comes from a working class background. You know, he can connect to the people. He was popularly involved with with breaking apart the monopoly on mobile phones, or
which was a huge
which is
success.
Gigantic. Now, I also understood that it didn't initiate with him specifically, but he certainly pulled it through.
Right.
Now he has the plan to deregulate the banking system as well, which Israel, of course, is ruled by 5 banks.
Right.
What else can we expect from him?
It's so there's a lot on the table. There's a lot that Kahlon's promised, and it's interesting. One of the things we can take a look actually at a clip that, where Moshe Kahlon explains a little bit about what he's.
Okay, well let's see that.
We want to be in the social center, and that's why every party is going to drag to its own way, but it's easier to recruit voters by right and left. The left said if there's no peace, it'll be a disaster, and the right says that if there'll be peace, it'll be a disaster. We say neither. We want to take care of the citizens of the State of Israel, the housing, the cost of living, the social gaps, the elderly, the children, the handicapped, the young couples, the soldiers. That's what we want to do. That's why we go for a social government, not right nor left.
Clearly, Moshe Kachlon, who vows to help the poor and the elderly and the other, so to speak. We're going to go now to Eitan Avriel. We're going to be joined by him, co-founder and chief editor of Israeli financial daily The Marker, on the phone. Eitan.
Hello.
Hi, thank you for joining us. Please, your 2 cents on the results of the election, and specifically as it relates to Moshe Kachlon.
Well, Moshe Kachlon is probably, I'd say, over 99% going to be the future finance minister of Israel. He has said that that's his goal, basically his only goal, and he's the not the strongest, but he gets to decide a lot of things within the coalition. He makes a difference for Netanyahu. With whom can he go? And the big question now is whether he's going to be more successful than his predecessor, which was not very, did not succeed very much at his role, did not execute many reforms, and did much less than what he promised to do and talked about. Now,
well, I mean, considering that Moshe Kachlon is a former Likudnik, so to speak, he was in the same party that Binyamin Netanyahu had, do you think there might be more harmony, so to speak, more chance for him to actually succeed?
Yes, but the harmony is not where it comes from. The previous finance minister, Yair Lapid, was a threat to the chair of the Prime Minister Netanyahu. He actually said that he is about to, in a few years, to change him and to take his own position. And Netanyahu does not look at this point at Kachlon as a threat for the prime ministership. That's number one. And the second point is that Kachlon is a seasoned minister. He has been in several economic ministers, smaller ones in Israel. He's a seasoned politician. He's been in politics for over 2 decades. He knows how to work the system. And so his knowledge and experience on the one hand side, and the fact that he's not seen as a threat and might get some serious cooperation from Netanyahu, which did not give cooperation to Yair Lapid before, might make a change. And he has a very structured plan, also something that many ministers before did not have. He has a plan. He has several reforms that he wants to do. One is to do with banking and financial sector. Another one in housing. A third one has to do with pension funds. A fourth one is a revamp of the public sector, the way it's managed and the way the human resources is managed, the quality of that. So these are all very good ideas which are not in contention by anybody. It's just a question of getting the right political help, mostly from Netanyahu, to actually execute them.
Okay. Well, based on the end of your comment, I mean, these are all things that are very much needed, desperately needed by Israeli society. Why weren't they pursued before?
They were not pursued before because of political infighting. So Netanyahu did not want the previous finance minister, Yair Lapid, to succeed. Had he succeeded, he had received a lot of political points and might have become a danger to him in any forthcoming election. He actually did almost anything he could do to so that the previous minister would fail at his job, which he basically succeeded. So Lapid failed and weakened significantly in the election, and Bibi won again. So that plan worked out, but the public in Israel were the ones who lost because of all of that, because the reforms were not done.
Well, we'll see actually if
maybe this time the incentives will be more aligned, and there is a chance for it. These are very complicated reforms. It's very difficult to change that in any country, especially in the heterogenic and broken up to many parties country like Israel. But the deal between Kahlon and Netanyahu has more chance of success on the economic and social
We'll be very interested to see how that goes. Eitan Avriel, co-founder and chief editor of Israeli Financial Daily The Marker. Thanks so much for joining us. Daniel, last comment.
Look, I think the reality of Israel's economy right now is that it's a mixed bag. We've got low unemployment relatively. We've got excessively high, perhaps the highest in the world, inequality. We have pieces to work with, but it seems right now that the people have voted in, by and large, maybe aside from Kahlon, a status quo government.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Daniel, for joining us. I mean, I think probably the highest in terms of inequality, it's certainly in the OECD, one of the highest. But it'll be very interesting to see how it develops further. Thanks for joining us. I'm Binyamin Tjong-Alvares. Watch us again tomorrow for more on the economy.